All right, good morning. Good morning, and thank you for being here. Just want to introduce who's with me today, as they will be answering questions at the end of our presentation, along with myself. So I have, in no particular order, election consultant Daniel Baxter, election consultant Chris Thomas, deputy clerk Andre Gilbert, director of elections George Azus. And then we have with us our director of equipment, George Haygood. And I'm Janice Winfrey, city clerk for the city of Detroit. So welcome and good morning. Welcome to TCF Center, Hall E, better known to us as the Central Counting Board. What you see behind you are 134 tables that will serve as individual counting boards. We have 25 high-speed ICC tabulators and 13 adjudication stations. Later in the presentation, I will share with you all of the nuances of the Central Counting Board and offer you a brief demonstration and walkthrough of the flow of the work. But before I do that, let me begin by providing you with a full overview of what you can expect for November 3rd presidential election as it relates to the Central Counting Board. We are pleased to announce that there's only one polling location change, and all electors impacted have been notified. That one change was the Cambridge Towers. That's a senior facility. That precinct has been moved to Henry Ford High School. Again, all impacted voters have been notified. We don't expect any other polling location changes. The Department of Elections have trained more than 7,000 Election Day poll workers for this election. Each precinct will have 6 inspectors assigned to receive and process every elector who wishes to cast their ballot at their precinct on Election Day. We expect and anticipate a 50% turnout. Is that low in my opinion? Yes. We're looking for that other 50%. We have over 500,000 voters, and every voter counts. And we want every voter to show up and vote in this election in the city of Detroit. Every voter is important, and every vote is important. And we need you. We need you, Detroit voters. We need that other 50% to come out and cast their ballot. Starting today, if you haven't, you can cast your ballot today. Our satellites are open today and 7 days a week, so that one can cast their absentee ballot in person ahead of Election Day. But we're looking for that other 50%. Presently, more than 174,000 absentee ballots have been issued to the city of Detroit. Approximately 156,000 absentee ballots have been mailed. 20,000 absentee ballots have been issued from the 23 satellite voting centers, and more than 35,000 Detroiters have deposited their absentee ballot in a drop box. We have over 30 of them throughout the city of Detroit. We anticipate counting about 165,000 absentee ballots. And as you're probably aware, we have revamped all the operations associated with processing and tabulating absentee ballots. Now, with the passing of the new law, we know that communities with more than 25,000 residents can begin to process return absentee ballots beginning Monday before Election Day. And as such, we plan to take full advantage of that new law to ensure that our poll workers are rested and that they're ready to take on the challenge of the day. Therefore, we will have 3 shifts, or our poll worker breakdown for absentee ballots will look like this. On Monday, November 2nd, our poll workers will begin to show up, and they'll work from 8 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. Processing, however, will begin at 10 o'clock a.m. On Tuesday, November 3rd, poll workers will show up at 6 o'clock a.m. and that first shift will end at 9 o'clock p.m. Processing and tabulation will begin at 7 o'clock a.m. On Tuesday, November 3rd, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., and on Wednesday, November 4th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. if necessary. Remember, this is an election week, no longer an election day. Additionally, we will utilize the e-poll book at the Central Counting Board. The e-poll book is used in our precincts, and most of you are familiar with that. But it'll work the very same way here at the Central Counting Board. It will house all of our polling lists. It will be connected to the qualified voter file, and we've had discussions with the state of Michigan as well as the county clerk as to our plans to utilize the e-poll book here at the Central Counting Board. We have tested and trained more than 1,800 of our Central County Board poll workers on how to use the e-poll book. The e-poll book will make processing the absentee ballots more efficient and accurate. And after all of the ballots have been processed, the poll list associated will then be produced for each counting board and sealed in the poll book envelope. Finally, we will continue to process and tabulate, and we will provide hourly updates until all of our ballots have been completely counted. Now we'd like to administer a brief demonstration of the operations and how they will work on Election Day here at the Central Counting Board. Upon completion of the demonstration, we will answer any and all of the questions that you may have for this press conference. Right now, I'll turn it over to Mr. Baxter, and we will look forward to our demonstration. Thank you.
So good morning. We have staff that are over to my right at one of our counting boards who are ready to begin to process a couple of ballots for you that you might have an opportunity to see how that work goes. In a nutshell, what's going to happen on Monday as well as Election Day, that first inspector will review those ballots, and then once they review it, they will enter that data into the electronic poll book. Once the information is entered into the electronic poll book, the ballot inside of the envelope will be passed to the second inspector, who will confirm that the stub number on the ballot agrees with the stub number on the ballot return envelope. After that, the ballot will be passed to inspector number 3, who will remove the stub and then pass the ballot to inspector number 4, who will unfold it and place it into the ballots to be processed tray. Once the ballots have been placed in there, and once we accrue approximately 200 ballots, those ballots then will be delivered to the ICC high-speed tabulator. The high-speed tabulator will begin to process those ballots, upload that data, store it until 8 o'clock p.m. on election night. That information will be released at that particular time. It will be a partial report with the remaining of the data that will come on an hourly basis. And then immediately after that, once that data is uploaded, there's a final step, which is the adjudication station. The adjudication station is responsible for reviewing those ballots that may have overvoted, stray marks, and write-ins. That information is critical. A Democrat and a Republican has to be at each one of those stations. They make a determination, and then that ballot is processed. At the end of the night, what will occur is a couple of things. One of the reasons why we like the electronic poll book is the fact that each one of our 134 counting boards will have a printer. and they'll be able to print out their poll list from the electronic poll book. Simultaneously, the results will be coming from the ICC tabulators, where they will combine all of that information, balance out their precinct, and close on Election Day. What I'd like to do at this particular time for you all is if you all could come with me over here and take a look at the actual process.
Please remain socially distant.
Please remain socially distant. Hey, David. Anthony. Where's Anthony? So basically, what will happen is that these envelopes will be cut open first and foremost. So,
Mind giving us a minute to get...
oh, absolutely.
Questions at this time, or you have something?
Got a couple of other things on. Okay. So that's the process in a nutshell. Let me clarify a couple of things. On the Monday before the election, the entire process will not be executed. The law requires, in terms of that Monday, that we process the ballots up to verifying the stub number. So on the Monday before the election, we'll open the ballot, we'll record the information in the electronic poll book, and then we'll verify the stub number. And then all of the ballots that we've processed on Monday will be placed in the transfer case for storage for Tuesday, that we might begin to process those particular ballots. Also, the thing that we love about this particular election is that the clerk wanted to do something very different in terms of this election. The way we trained our poll workers was very unique to what we've done in previous elections. All of the training occurred right here. Every poll worker that will be here at the Central Counting Board on Monday and Tuesday got personalized training, where not only did they get the lecture portion, they got the actual hands-on process, where they actually processed ballots to understand how that flow worked. We're really excited about the anticipated outcome for this election, and we're ready to go. So I'll open up the mic for any questions that you might have.
Okay.
I just wondered if you've got any notification that the slowdown in mail has impacted voters receiving ballots, or the ballots not coming back?
Yeah, so we all received notification. We knew in the spring of the year when our president selected a new postmaster. Shortly thereafter, a letter was sent out saying that ballots could not be guaranteed to get to the voter or the department in a timely fashion. And that's when we first implemented the drop boxes. So, and of course, we've expanded since then. So we do know there's a slowness in the mail for whatever reason. But I do want to, while we're on that subject, I do want to caution all of us to be careful of the words that we use, because it was reported earlier in the week that mail was lost. And I never said that. Ballots were spoiled. And ballots are spoiled for a number of reasons, as Mr. Baxter pointed out with the adjudication. Some people undervote, some people overvote, and the like. And those spoiled ballots are definitely, if an individual realizes that, you know what, I voted yesterday at my satellite, but I think I want to change my yes to a no, or my no to a yes, right? So they can come in and spoil that ballot. And so we use those spoiled ballot affidavits to determine if it was some kind of consistency and something out of the ordinary in terms of the zip codes that were being spoiled, if you will. And they didn't find much of anything. In fact, when the local postmaster went and looked at the data, and he went to those zip codes that more than a few, they're repeating, they went inside those stations and they did a sweep, and they did not find ballots sitting in piles as was reported. And, you know, and I always say we have to be careful with the language that we use when we're reporting and even when we're sharing information, because what we don't want to do is discourage people from voting and making them afraid or unsure of the process. Yes, ma'am?
Are you referring to the report of 500 ballots being lost?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is not true.
So that was 500 spoiled affidavits, right? And as I just explained, those affidavits are for a number of reasons, right?
Right, so how many ballots, you were listing the numbers of ballots that have been sent out, but how many, is there a delay of how many ballots have yet to be sent out?
No, we are daily, and we're usually daily about this time in the process because we have so many workers. We've been daily a little earlier than we normally are. Daily means that if we were to receive an application today via email or the snail mail, that ballot would actually go out today. We've been daily now for a couple of weeks or more, I know, and what we're doing now, because we just want to get ahead of the game. We just want people to have confidence in the process. We're looking for that other 50% to come out and vote. What we've been doing as of late is whenever a request comes in, we are sending that ballot out overnight. We've always done that during crunch time, but we started that process a little earlier this time because we realized that the mail is a little slow. In addition to that, we also will hand deliver. We've always done it. I don't make it public knowledge like I am now because some people will just sit down and say, just deliver my ballot, right? But it's for mostly those people who can't get out for whatever reasons, right? Getting out and coming and going to a vote center is not convenient for them. We usually hand deliver those ballots. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us where you're at in terms of poll workers right now? Do you have any-
We're in a wonderful place in terms of poll worker. We just pray they all show up to work on election day, and we expect that they will. I know we've trained nearly 10,000. I said over 7,000 in my report just to make sure that, easy numbers, but actually we're well over 7,000. We're closer to 10,000, and we have a good number of those individuals will act as substitutes. Sir, you had your hand up.
Can you clarify the 50% figure you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so-
Absentee or overall?
Overall, we expect a 50% overall turnout.
And you were expecting something higher than that, is what you were saying?
No, always expecting something higher than that, right? One day in life, we will receive 100% turnout, right? But my appeal is 50% expected turnout based on what we've seen and what we're doing and past. But that's not enough, Detroit. That's not enough. We want individuals who are unsure about the process, who don't know if their vote really counts. We want to assure you that your vote does count, and more importantly, your vote matters, and we need everyone that's registered in this city, all 500,000 plus, to come out and cast their ballot, cast their vote, because it's so important, more important than ever before. Someone I haven't heard from.
Hi. At what point do the ballots become spoiled? It
Yeah.
seemed like a post office issue, but could it have potentially happened in the clerk's office?
It potentially happens with the voter. A voter spoils their ballot, right? So let's say you voted and you said you voted on a proposal, no, right? and you submitted your ballot to us, right? Early. But then you thought about it, maybe you did some reading, and maybe you did some additional research, and maybe you just, you know what, I want to change that no to a yes. So then you contact my office and say, Ms. Winfrey, I like to spoil my ballot. I've changed my mind. We say, okay, we spoiled the ballot that you initially gave us, and we will issue you another ballot. Ballots are spoiled by the voter. Does that make sense? Good, yes.
Have the poll workers been trained in any sort of conflict resolution, either at polling places or with challengers here? And what kind of training have they gotten?
Yeah, so challengers is another issue, and we have an expert that will speak more on challenging. But yes, our poll workers are trained to deal with conflict resolution. At the end of the day, though, our poll workers know that people deserve the right to vote. And my thing is, let the voters vote. Let the people vote.
What kind of specific training have they got?
We'll talk about specific training from the subject matter expert on that. Yes, Ms. Vicki?
In terms of turnout, a lot of people think it's going to be higher than 50%. Let's say it's 80%. Are you prepared?
We're always prepared. We have to prepare for 100% turnout because one day it's going to happen. Right now, it seems like a waste almost sometimes, right? But especially when we get the local races when the numbers are really low. But yes, we are prepared for 100%. Yes, we are prepared for numbers much higher than 50% because it's just that important. And Vicki, I hope we are wrong when it comes to turnout. I hope and I pray that we're closer to 100% because it's just that important. Yes, ma'am?
Could you clarify what you said earlier about reporting absentee ballots starting at 8 p.m. and then was it every hour? How will that reporting work?
So for absentee, it's every hour. It will be updated, correct, Mr. Baxter?
Starting at 8 p.m. though?
Starting at 8 p.m. It will over here now. Somebody I haven't heard from, sir?
Yeah, can you address kind of what the root issue was in August with the balancing issues? And then what has specifically been done to address that?
That's a good question. This is what's been done, right? And it looked much like this before, but let me tell you what happened in August. I think people have forgotten that we are living in a pandemic. I think people forgot that Detroit was a hot spot. And I think people forget that the average poll worker is 70 years old. Keep getting all that, right? All that. Remember, we were at a stay-at-home order, and that included us, right? So we got back to work at the Department of Elections the second week in June. So already we're all these months from the last election, which was in March, we're all that time we couldn't recruit, we couldn't train, right? So we got back to work in the second week in June, and yes, we worked from home in terms of planning, right? But you can't recruit from home, right? And you can't train from home, right? We couldn't. Right? So we came back behind the 8 ball. We scrambled around. We got all of our poll workers who were interested in coming back. We lost some of our poll workers to this coronavirus, right? And the other half didn't feel safe coming in because they know they were at risk, not just because of their age, but because of other health issues, right? So they did not want to work, and I didn't blame them. But what I did do was begin to reach out to the city of Detroit, to the state of Michigan, to Wayne County and the like, to get individuals who might have been on furlough, right? And who would be willing to come in and help us to process ballots at the Central Counting Board. But what happened, what I was sharing with one of the other reporters earlier today, what happened is many of those poll workers that came in, they were new. They only received 1 hour of training as opposed to the 3 hours or 3 days that we typically give. At about 8 o'clock, when the polls closed outside of Cobo Hall, they walked off. They quit. They left the work undone. So the few tried and true that were here scrambled to get that work together. That's never happened, under my administration anyway. It's never happened. Central Counting Board has always been our strong suit. But it did happen. And so with the tried and true poll workers that were here, that remained here to help us close out, did the best they could. Because the people that left the work undone. So what are we doing differently? Well, I heard Senator Harris say that I'm depending and I need to hear from the Divine Nine. And if you don't know what the Divine Nine is, Divine Nine are those black Greeks, those black sororities and fraternities that she is a part of, I am a part of. And I reached out to them because I'm an active member, and I said, look, AKAs, Deltas, Alphas, Kappas, we need you. We need you to come and work with us right here at the Central Counting Board, because we know these professionals are well educated. We know they are used to working. We know they are used to receiving the written explanation as well as the written explanation, and they rose to the occasion. And they all signed up nice and early, and they came to this facility, many of them which may not even live in Detroit. They don't. They came to this facility 4 times for training. 4 times. We have team leaders, lots of millennials. We have section supervisors, all of which are Divine Nine, that said we will come here, we are committed to come here and supervise this process and ensure that the inspectors get it right. And that's the difference that we've done in this election. Yes, ma'am.
So it's clear to me you guys have beefed up the absentee voter training. It's my understanding that still new poll workers get a 2.5-hour training. These are poll workers who are working on election day at the polls. And no testing to verify that they retain the key knowledge. Is that sufficient for a first-time poll worker?
Let me tell you, it's more than what your state requires. The state of Michigan only requires poll worker training once every 2 years. We give poll worker training for each and every election, and we go well over the 1-hour requirement. We know we have some new poll workers, especially for this election. But what we do is we pair them with a seasoned poll worker. And we have a classification called the PSA. And that PSA is over an entire building. For example, if we have Pasteur School, which we may have 3 precincts in there, that one PSA is responsible for every precinct in that school at Pasteur. He or she goes around and makes sure every precinct is well stocked in terms of materials that they may need, that if there's an issue or a problem, he or she is there to correct it. There are seasoned poll workers to ensure that the operation runs smoothly. Yes, ma'am.
We were talking about with August how we were in the middle of the pandemic and we still are. What advice are you giving to your poll workers in the lead up to election day? Are you asking them to quarantine, to stay safe? Have there been any cases of COVID among poll workers or those who are going to be at this counting board? Or?
So every poll worker has to submit a COVID test. And I think it's 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, that COVID test? 20 days out?
28th of September forward.
28th of September forward. And that has to be a negative.
Starting on September 1st?
Yes.
And that's like the first day you can?
Yes, yes. But what do I say to my poll workers as they're working in this pandemic? We met with our supervisors, about 300-400 of them on Saturday via Zoom or webinar. And we address any questions that they may have. Some of them, don't feel comfortable being poll workers or supervisors, and that's okay. But the one thing that we share with them, working in this pandemic, we know that our country is in unsettled feeling. We know that people are on edge, and we know sometimes that people are just not themselves, right? Because we're all going through, and many of us, especially in Detroit, have realized a lot of loss. So the one message that I share with them is to respond and not react to the public. I want them to be as kind and empathetic to the public as they possibly can, because people are angry and we're easy targets. They're very angry at me just because. They'll be very angry at you just because, and it's okay. Our resounding message is to, if you don't feel comfortable, let us know. We'll replace you. We thank you and we appreciate you, and not feel bad about it. Don't feel bad about it. But at the end of the day, remember to respond and not react to the public. I'd like to hear from someone I haven't heard from yet, sir.
Has your office been in touch with Department of Homeland Security or any other federal agencies regarding the potential of ransomware attacks, other
Absolutely.
security threats?
So before, that has started in January for election administrators. So I was in D.C. With the Brennan Center, and what's the name of that? Where's Chris? What's the name of that agency? Homeland Security. You just said it. Yeah, and they did. I'm sorry?
The Election Assistance Commission.
The Election Assistance Commission, thank you. And we were there, and we did all kind of role playing, and we did that twice before the pandemic hit. So to answer your question, yes, we have been involved, and we're still involved. They still do webinars with us. In fact, I'm supposed to be today or Friday on a webinar to talk about I'm looking at my schedule, that topic in terms of security, cybersecurity, and the like as an administrator of elections.
Sir, has anybody from one of those agencies been to see this particular operation that we have right now, the DCF Center?
Yes.
There it goes.
Yes, absolutely. We have the health department.
Come on.
Please.
Yes, just last week, the health department and TCF and I, we did a walkthrough of the entire operation, from the poll worker arriving first thing in the morning on the rooftop, to them transitioning through the halls all the way to the front door and being received and seated in their particular tables. They looked at the areas and made recommendations. Many of those we have already implemented. In addition to that, on today at 2 o'clock, I will be with DPD and Homeland Security walking through the operation again. So yes, we're taking every step and every precaution to make sure that every person in here is safe and secure. Yes?
Can you just talk a little bit about what would be your general message to the public who are concerned about Detroit counting the ballots properly and in a timely fashion? Is there any general message you can say with things you're doing? I know you talked about it in some detail, but just in general, what would you say to assuage people's concerns about Detroit?
Well, I think what we're going to do that's going to be very different this time is that there's an old adage: it's hard by the yard, but it's a cinch by the inch. So what we'll do is we'll execute this process incrementally to make sure that every step is being executed in accordance to Michigan election law. We have two goals for this election, and that's to get this job done accurately and efficiently. Time is not a real concern of ours. We want to make sure that every voter and every ballot that they submitted to the department has been properly processed, received, and tabulated on election day, so we can assure every voter at this particular time that we're going to take the necessary steps to guarantee that we count 100% of all of the ballots that are returned to the Department of Elections by 8 p.m. on election night.
And just let me say, we appreciate you all. We appreciate you all for helping us get the word out, the message out. And you know, we love you all. Reporters, you're stellar at what you do. And we also know that you have a kabillion questions, and we could be here all day with this, but we can't be here all day with this, because in the back of me, we have to get this equipment out. And they just told me we're going to fall behind. The equipment that goes to the precincts has to be sent out. We have to continue our work. We have to take off these fancy clothes and put on our gym shoes and jeans and start processing these ballots. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming out. I know you had a challenger question, and Mr. Thomas, Chris Thomas, is a subject matter expert on that, and I'm sure he'll be willing to answer your question. But this time, we must end this process. It's going to get loud in here anyway, and we all have to get back to work. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you.